Ego after awakening, how it quietly returns. You awakened. You saw through the loops. You became aware. So why does it still feel like something is pulling you back? Why do emotions still arise? Why does judgment show up again, sometimes even stronger? Why does comparison return, even spiritually? Here's the truth most people are never told. The ego doesn't disappear after awakening. It adapts. And if you don't understand how it adapts, you'll mistake growth for failure and deepening awareness for regression. Today we're talking about ego after awakening. Not to fight it, not to get rid of it, but to understand it. Because what is understood no longer needs to control. Welcome back to the I Am experience, where awakening becomes real. This episode of Living as the I Am is about something subtle, quiet, and deeply important. If the earlier videos helped you wake up, this one will help you stay grounded without turning awakening into another identity or pressure. This is not about killing the ego. It's about outgrowing identification with it. Let's clear something up right away. The ego is not evil. It's not your enemy. And it's not something you need to destroy. The ego is a survival identity. It formed early in life to keep you safe, help you belong, protect you from pain, make the world predictable. The ego wants certainty, control, familiarity, continuity. Awakening threatens none of these in reality, but it threatens them symbolically, because awakening introduces the unknown, and the ego does not trust the unknown. So when awakening happens, the ego doesn't disappear. It becomes quieter, smarter, and more subtle. At its core, the ego is afraid. Not arrogant, not stubborn, afraid. The ego equates identity with survival. So when awareness expands and identity loosens, the ego interprets this as danger. Awakening feels like a kind of death to the ego, not because you're in danger, but because the ego cannot imagine life without itself. This is why resistance shows up after awakening, not because something went wrong, but because something real is happening. The ego is trying to protect what it thinks is you. Once the ego realizes it can't survive through ignorance, it changes strategy. Instead of saying, I am better than others, it says, I am more aware. Instead of, I need validation, it says, I shouldn't need validation. Instead of, I am insecure, it says, I should be beyond this by now. This is ego wearing wisdom, not loudly, quietly. And this is where people get confused. They think, why am I judging myself again? Why do I feel pressure to be calm? Why does awakening feel heavy? That's not regression. That's ego rebranding itself as identity. Here's one of the most subtle traps. The ego hijacks healing. It turns healing into a checklist. I need to heal this trauma. I need to release this pattern. I need to fix this part of myself. Growth becomes pressure. Healing becomes identity. But healing is not something you finish, and purpose is not something you force. When ego hijacks healing, self-awareness turns into self-judgment. Awareness doesn't rush healing. Ego does. The ego doesn't just want safety. It wants certainty. It wants to know how long awakening will take, what the end result will be, who you'll become, whether you're doing it right. But awakening offers none of that. Awakening is living without guarantees. And this is deeply uncomfortable for the ego. So it tries to regain control by tracking progress, comparing paths, judging states, seeking confirmation. Awareness doesn't need certainty. Ego does. This is something rarely talked about. Awakening can feel lonely, not because you're disconnected, but because old identities are dissolving. Ways of relating shift. Old conversations no longer fit. Old roles fall away. The ego loses familiar reference points, and before new ways of being stabilized, there can be a sense of emptiness. This doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're between identities, and that space is sacred. Here's how to tell the difference. Ego feels tight, urgent, pressured, contracted. Awareness feels spacious, patient, neutral, open. Ego narrates. Awareness observes. Ego says, I need to do something about this. Awareness says, I see this. If you can observe it, you are not it. Here's the paradox. The more you try to destroy the ego, the more it survives. Because fighting the ego creates another role. the one who overcame the ego. The ego loves roles. Awareness doesn't fight. It includes. When ego is seen without judgment, it softens. When ego is attacked, it defends. Gentleness dissolves ego faster than effort. The ego doesn't vanish suddenly. It weakens through repeated non-identification. Each time you notice, oh, this is ego, and you don't follow it, awareness strengthens. Over time, ego thoughts feel quieter. Identification loosens. Presence stabilizes. You don't defeat the ego. You outgrow it. If you're noticing ego more now, that doesn't mean it's stronger. It means awareness is. Confusion doesn't mean failure. Pressure doesn't mean regression. Ego appearing doesn't mean awakening ended. It means awakening is deepening. This phase doesn't last forever. It passes as gently as you allow it. When you notice subtle identification, ask, what is being protected right now? Then pause, feel the body, breathe. No fixing, no correcting, no analysis. Presence is enough. Here's the truth that ends the struggle. You don't need to destroy the ego. You don't need to transcend it. You don't need to fix it. You only need to stop being it. Awareness doesn't eliminate the ego. It outgrows identification with it. If this resonated, comment below. I choose awareness. And if you're ready to continue learning how to live as the I am, not as an identity, but as presence, subscribe and join me in the next experience. Remember, you are not the ego, you are not the story, you are not the identity, you are the awareness that sees them, you are the presence beneath them, you are the I am.